So this is the video where it all starts to come together. This is where we're going to build the home screen with all of the content in inline lists, text, buttons, buy buttons, and also my profile as well. So let's look at the finished template to see how this all works. So on the home screen, we have this long details screen with lots of inline lists in it, different components, and some of these have conditional visibility, as I explained in the original video, but we'll get into that later. The other thing is this My Profile button, which takes us to a separate screen where we have all of the user-specific stuff that we've worked on throughout the previous videos showing up for us. So all of these inline lists are showing content that is specific to me. So all of the items that I favorited and saved show up here for me. So this is where all of that appears. So let's go over to our rebuild here, and we're gonna sort out all of these tabs that we've got building up here, and we're gonna move them all into the app menu. Okay, so we've got most of them in the app menu now. What we need to do is we need to add a new tab, and we're gonna base it off of the home screen, and we'll just call it home. And we'll go back, and now that we've added that home screen, we can then pull the final tab into this app menu. And now that we've done this, if we go back to the home screen, we can see that we've got no tabs at the bottom, and that's quite a nice visual experience, having no tabs. We'll create the navigation via the app menu and also link to screen items. Okay, so we're going to go over to the layout here, and we're going to go to details, and then I'm going to delete all the components that exist on here. So let's go to our finished template. We're going to start with this this central thing, which you already know how to build because I've shown you in a different video. So I'm going to whiz through how to do that. So what we need to do next is create that button that then links to our our area, which is essentially our profile, which will be our user profile row, all the information about us. But we haven't configured user profiles yet. This app doesn't yet know what user is using it really. So we need to configure that. So the way that we do that in Glide is we go up to the app menu and we click sign in, and then the right hand side panel gives us this ability to choose a user profiles sheet. So I've already set one up as users. If we look at that in our Google Sheet, if we actually go to the users sheet, we can see that we've got some familiar kind of user properties. We've got name, email, image, but then also some biography, and then something that we're going to look at later, which is the premium or free property, or the access level property. And this one column will give us the ability to switch premium or free on for each user, and then the app itself will change for that user. So Glide's found the correct columns for us, so we can now just close this. So now that we've configured that, what we can do is we can add this new button here. And I'm going to choose the link to screen action, okay? And this can go directly to that user's sheet, okay? So if I do this now and I go to that sheet, I'm going to see all the users, right? But that's not what we want. What we want is we only want to see our own row, okay? And the way that we can do this, we can do it in two ways. We can either filter this screen to only show the current signed in user their own row. Now, you could do that, that's fine, but it's not as secure as using something called row owners. So with filtering, technically, you could, if you were super clever, find the other information in the app. But actually, row owners makes it very, very secure and no one would find it. So what we can do is we can go to the data editor and we'll go to the actual users sheet, which is down here. And we'll go to the email column, and then we'll click on this disclosure triangle here and we'll click make row owner. And then we get the row owners icon on there. And when we go back to the app now, I'm only going to see me, right? Because my email doesn't belong in any of those other rows, and therefore I'm not a row owner of it, right? If we changed to, for example, Joe at Glide Apps, we're only going to see Joe's row because that's what Joe sees, right? But we want this to be then a details screen. So I'm going to hit details, and now we see the beginnings of more of a profile kind of experience, okay? So this is pretty good. I'm gonna leave this. I might get rid of that email. I'll leave the access level. Let's see what we did in the original one. We didn't actually have the access level in it, so I'll get rid of that. I had an entry component for text, and that was connected to our biography. And then we had 3 or 4 inline lists. So I'm going to add an inline list and connect it to the courses. And we're going to make sure that it's the cards layout. And I'm going to make this a horizontal scrolling list. Okay. And I'm going to make the size half size. Get a bit more what we had before. And then I'm going to add an overlay of favorite. Okay. I'll get rid of the title of this list and I'll write my courses. Great. Okay. So what we want to now do is filter this list according to whether this person has added the course to their library or not, right? And this is where it might get a little bit confusing, but if we remember in one of the early videos, what we did is on the details screen of each course is we added this switch component, right? And we connected it to the is favorited column. So this switch component is acting exactly like the favorite component. It's no different apart from the way that we have a heart or a switch. It's looking at the same data. And for example, if I'm logged in as Joe at Glide Apps and Joe has added this to their library, we want this list here to only show the ones that they favorited, essentially, right? So what we can do is we can go into that inline list and we can go to the features panel and we can add a filter where we say is favorited is true. And now we'll only see those items. And of course, if Joe wanted to get rid of that course, she could just go like that and it would be gone. Okay, so let's log in as me, and I'm going to make sure that I have favorited a few courses by going to the courses screen. I'm going to favorite that one, and we'll go back to my area by going to the my area, and let's change that button as well because that's a bit confusing. Let's say my profile. So I'm going to go to my profile. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate that list a few times and assign it to the different areas in our app. So I'll do it once and then I'll let you do it for all of the other ones because otherwise it'll take too much time. So I'm going to duplicate it and then I'm going to click on this duplicated one and I'm going to change the source sheet to be articles, right? And it doesn't show anything at the moment because I haven't favorited any articles, but if I go back and I favorite some articles, we'll see that they now appear in my profile. Except we have the title My Courses, which isn't totally correct. So we'll just say saved articles. Okay, and then we need to sort out the properties on that. So this is the way that this would work. You can go through now and do exactly the same for all of your content. So there we have it. Those are the lists that are totally user specific. So if we change to a different person like Joe, we can see that Joe hasn't done anything yet in the app, so nothing's showing. But if we go back to me or any other user, this will be specific to them. So now that we've configured this screen, we can go back to the home screen and start adding all of these inline lists and text components to create that lovely home screen that we had. So we have this text component, this relationship of H1 and then footer, and then a horizontal scrolling inline list. The way that you make something horizontal scrolling is just simply switching between these two orientations here. We've got a repeat of that over and over again, all the way down to the bottom until we get to this area here. So I'm just going to fast forward all of this so that you can see it being built quickly because you know how to do this now, and then we'll come back and build this bottom bit. Okay, so that is everything. Let's have a look at what we've built, which is just exactly the same as the fully finished template, just adding a bunch of inline lists. And again, if you find yourself building a screen like this where you have a lot of repeating elements, you can save yourself work by configuring one of them, duplicating it, and then just changing the source. So all I did was I just duplicated an inline list and then changed the location. And if there were any little tweaks that needed to be done, I could just do that. So that is pretty much it. All we've got down at the bottom here is an image here, which has the action on it of sharing the app, and then we have just some simple footer text here. So that is the home screen. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to build out the user experience with the user profiles sheet and kind of create this free and premium experience. We're going to add a button in where people can buy premium and then show you how you can unlock premium for the users of your app.